Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. I am back from vacation and we are ready to DIY. Today I'm going to bring you 20 of my best coastal Dollar Tree DIYs straight from the Crafty Vault, and we're going to get started first with my beach chair tier tray DIY, one of your very favorites, with some more beautiful coastal DIYs later.
So what we're going to do is start with 2 square signs. I have these 2 square signs from the Dollar Tree. You kind of want them to have a frame or a lip on them if you can, or a thicker sign, because you kind of want them to have like a little bit of a bottom. Now, unfortunately, these sides are really hard to come off, these particular signs from the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to have to do is end up just using them upside down like that, because I need the ledges to be on the bottom. And unfortunately, these staples, I mean, they don't want to come out. And if you lift it from the other side, it kind of breaks the surface of that sign too. So you know what? We're just going to kind of nail them in and hope that we can paint over them and kind of, you know, cover that up. But this is the color that we're going to use for our tier tray. It is Cloudless by Apple Barrel from Walmart. And I want to paint the bottom of these, going over all the staples. We're also going to paint all of the frames on the sides, because that's going to be the edges. And what I want this tier tray to look like is one of those like giant beach Adirondack chairs that you see. We have them here in Vero. A lot of the beaches that I've been to here in Florida lately have these, the big giant Adirondack chairs. Or I guess it could just be any Adirondack chair. I wanted it to look like a beach chair and actually be a tier tray. Now I'm going to do a 2-tier tray. That's why I need 2 of the signs, but I think that you could do this with like 3 if you wanted to. In my original plan, I thought I was going to be able to do 3. Might be a little tall, but it might be really cute. So as you can see, that like MDF on the back of that sign just really soaks in acrylic paint. So it is going to take several coats to get good coverage on this, but I want to cover up, you know, as much of that MDF and the staples as I can, hopefully burying some of those staples in it, also touching up all the sides. So one of these is going to be like the seat of the Adirondack chair, and then the other one is going to be like a shelf below it. And then we are going to build the whole thing out with Dollar Tree rulers. It's a great time to get the wood rulers from the Dollar Tree. And I think I calculated, I used a total of 17 of them. So you're going to need 9 packages of the rulers to recreate, because you get 2 in a package. And it's a great time to get them right now because they have them in the school supply aisle, but they also have them in, you know, their seasonal school supply stuff. So this is what they look like. They have these little stickers on them. No big deal. You just peel those off. It does leave like a little ridge in the middle. We're going to try to avoid those if we can, using the ridge side down. They also have holes in them, which I'm going to kind of work around those too. If they really bother you, could always spackle those and fill those in. But I'm just going to go ahead and just start opening all these rulers, peeling all the stickers off. Super easy. I'm kind of calculating at this point how many I'm going to need. I know I need 4 for the 4 legs of the chair. And then I was thinking, how can I build the sides of the chair? So I'm going to have like side structure. I'm going to have like the armrests, and then I'm going to do a total of 5 slats along the back for the Adirondack chair. And so that's why I just kept adding more rulers. And I'm pretty sure it was a total of 17 rulers that I used for this DIY. Now, if you wanted to make this on a smaller scale, you totally could with like jumbo popsicle sticks or something like that. But you're going to get a smaller tier tray. It's going to be harder to decorate probably because it's going to be smaller. So, you know, take that into account. And these rulers are a great source of wood. They're super strong, and I think this is going to turn out. So I counted them there, total of 17, and I thought we probably should go ahead and paint them now before we get started building. this tier tray because I think it's going to be easier to paint them now. So these are wood, unlike the MDF on the back of those signs. So they're going to paint a lot better with acrylic paint, but I just lined them all up and we're going to paint them all at once with this cloudless color. This is like my favorite beachy blue color from Walmart, and it's the apple barrel paint, so it's super inexpensive. Sometimes I mix some colors to get to this color, but I really like this shade of blue. Now I'm going to try to take all of the steps of the creation of this tier tray. Try to take them slow so that you can recreate this on your own, because I came up with this plan all on my own, and I don't really, have a blog or anything like that with steps in it. So I want to make sure that you get every step. Now what I'm doing here is just painting the sides of the rulers because you're going to be able to see them, and trying to kind of set up an assembly line of painting here. I think I spent half the time on this project painting, so be prepared. I guess you could always, stain the wood if you wanted that kind of look, or you could leave it natural wood and it would save you a lot of time for real. You would have to find the seats and stuff like that in a nicer looking wood than the back of the sign like I used. But that looks good. So I'm flipping all the rulers over, and we have to paint all of the back of these too because you're going to be able to see them. Now, my original plan, I wanted to use the 5-gallon paint stir sticks from Walmart. And unfortunately, they come in 3-packs. And I have one 3-pack at my house, and I was ready to build this DIY. And I was like, oh no, I have 4 legs. But if you use the 5-gallon sticks from Dollar Tree, you could make it taller and you could get that 3rd tier in if you want a 3-tier tray. But even though this is wood and it doesn't soak it up, I am going over all the rulers with like 2 coats of paint just to make sure they're good and beachy blue. So I think that looks good. We can set these aside to start drying, and then we can start putting this tier tray together. I've made some really creative tier trays in the past, like my lobster trap tier tray, but I think this one is my favorite. It turned out so cute. So what we're going to start with is our 2 blue signs now and 4 of the blue rulers. Now, I don't really want that hole to be in there, but I want the entire height. So I'm going to make the holes go to the top of the tier tray because I'm going to brace that out and hopefully be able to hide the holes in them a little bit. I do want them to have feet though too, but not much because again, I want the height. So I was trying to find something to space it out with. I ended up just using one of those little wood blocks from the Dollar Tree as a spacer and my staple gun, and I stapled my first leg onto the corner. The legs are going to be on the sides of this chair table, table. I'm like chair table. And I'm going to use that wood block for a spacer to staple on the back one. Now with the rest of the construction, I really tried hard to use hot glue and staples, make it a little bit stronger, but I just used staples on this one to get started. It just seemed easier. If you don't have a staple gun, you could always use like some small nails as well. They sell those at the Dollar Tree, and I think you would have good luck with that too. These staples were just about the right length for most of this project, so I'm going to use my staple gun a lot. So again, using my spacer, we're going to put the 4th and final side on, just lining it all the way up against the front or the back, I guess. And this is what you have so far. So it's like the bottom kind of a bookcase almost. And now it's time to put our 2nd tier in. I was trying to decide how big I want the tiers to be. The top part there is going to be like armrest height, so it doesn't need to be as tall. And I think what I ended up doing was about 7 inches between the shelves is what I decided on. And a ruler is 12 inches. We had a little bit for the foot there, and so that kind of shows you where I put it. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue to glue this little shelf right in place on that bottom board. And then I'm going to measure the other side 7 inches to make sure I get this level and hot glue that one too. The hot glue is kind of a temporary thing to hold that into place until we can get some staples in there because that's going to reinforce it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. The only thing I didn't paint was the bottom of the tiers. You could do that. It would look pretty good too if you did that. And I measure 7 inches again. We're going to tack that side down with some hot glue and finish up with the 4th and final side. Once I get them all like kind of tacked with hot glue, then I can start stapling them. I just wanted to make sure that I got like this tier level first. So I'm just going to go ahead and staple right through. I found that the staple and the hot glue kind of made it extra strong. Kind of wish I would have done that on the bottom, but again, it does feel pretty strong with just the staples. The rulers are nice and thin, so the staple goes right through them into the wood below. So we got all 4 sides all attached. Our legs, we have both of our tiers. Now, I didn't really think you'd be able to see the holes in the back of the top one because I'm going to have the back of the chair there, but you would be able to see the ones in the bottom. So even though I didn't do it before, I'm just using some Dollar Tree spackle just to fill in those holes so you can't see them in the final project. And I'm glad I did. It just made it look cleaner. So easy peasy, I just filled the 4 holes, and then we're just going to have to touch up the paint a little bit to cover that up, and we can keep building this little beach Adirondack chair tier tray. I love it. It's so much fun. Okay, so we need to build the structure for the armrest. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a ruler from side to side. So I'm going to measure from side to side, and then I'm going to take 2 rulers, one for each armrest, brace, and cut those down to size. Then I'm going to use hot glue here, and this is covering up that hole on the top of the ruler that I was concerned about. And I'm gluing like the tab side down to keep like the flat edges on the outside like that. Now, I wasn't sure if I should staple into this because I don't really have anything besides the 2 rulers, but it actually worked stapling into it, and I thought it would provide a little bit more structure. We're going to have lots of staples. I am going to paint over those to kind of hide those later. And, you know, we've already had the staples from before that we needed to hide, so I think it's going to work. So I cut down 2, one for each side. So we're going to go ahead and hot glue that in place right up against the top, side to side. And then I'm going to use my staple gun to staple those into place as well. Just be careful on this one that you don't put your finger underneath of it. If you're using your staple gun, you don't want a staple going through your finger. So those are the 2 side panels. Now I kind of need a panel in the same exact place for the back of my chair. So I'm going to take another ruler that we painted blue, measure from end to end, and I'm going to cut this one down as well. Don't have a lot to glue to here besides the other 2 rulers, but I just hot glue onto both sides. And I didn't really have anything to staple to at that point, so I couldn't really staple that one in, even though I kind of wish that I would have. So this is what we have so far. It's kind of like a little bookcase, if you will, with like a shorter like top. Now for the armrest, I'm going to take another ruler and I'm going to have it go just straight to the flush with the front, and I'm going to measure to that back brace. And again, I'm going to take 2 of those rulers to my saw, cut those down, 1 armrest for each side. Then I'm going to put hot glue on the 2 rulers, the front and the back. And we're going to hot glue the little armrest in place. Nothing's really going to sit on this, so it doesn't have to be super strong. But what I did is I pushed the little ridge up against the ruler, so it's like that. There's a slight gap over the side, which overhangs, and it overhangs towards the middle of the chair where somebody would sit more. So we're going to do the same thing here on this side. Going to hot glue this in place, putting the tab on that ruler flush up against the other set of rulers. And this one, when I cut it, kind of chipped a little bit, but I'm going to hide that because it's going to be on the back of the chair. You won't be able to see it back there. Now for the back, it needs a little bit more structure than the 1 ruler. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down another piece to go flat as well. And it's going to give something for like the slats of the Adirondack chair to lean back against. So I'm just going to cut a ruler that will go from one of those armrests to the other, kind of fitting on the inside, not overlapping, because I don't want you to be able to see that on the sides. And I'm just going to attach that with hot glue, kind of pushing the ledge up against it as well. And again, I only had ruler to glue to here, so I'm going to try my best to make that as strong as possible. So I was thinking of something I could put in the gap, and I was thinking like one of these little dowels from the Dollar Tree would be great. So I put some hot glue there and then glued a dowel into place there to give something else for that to lean up against, because otherwise I didn't think it was going to be very sturdy. I also am going to use some hot glue on the corners to try to reinforce them as well, because I wasn't able to use any staples there. Then I thought, you know, if I use some masking tape, I can make it a little bit stronger. So what I did is I took masking tape and I ripped the top, the bottom, and the sides, so it kind of has like a feathered ends. That way I can use the masking tape here. I can paint over that, and it's going to kind of blend in with the wood, and you really have no idea it's there, but I think it's going to provide a little bit of extra stability than just the hot glue alone. So I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. And feathering the edges, like ripping the top, bottom, and the sides of that is kind of the key to get that to blend in. It's kind of like that wallpaper that you used to rip. I remember doing that in my master bedroom. We used to live in Philadelphia. And I think that is going to make that a lot stronger, but I don't want any of this stuff to be seen. So going to touch it up again with some of that cloudless paint, painting our dowel, the end of the ruler, and over all of the masking tape. And whenever you're building with Dollar Tree materials like this, whenever I do wood projects, I use masking tape a lot. I find that it does provide a lot of structure, and you can get it to virtually disappear, kind of like this. And again, nothing's really going to be sitting up on that part of the chair in the final project, so I think it's going to be okay. I didn't really have too many edges to paint, but then I just went over and painted all of my staples that I just added to the chair that blue color too. Now it's time to form the back part of the Adirondack chair. So what I wanted to do was do like 5 slats going straight up like that, well slanted back like that. So just trying those on for size, trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do that. I don't want them to have holes in them. I think that will take away from the design. So I'm going to take 5 of them to my saw, and basically I'm just cutting the holes off. So they're going to be like, what, 11 inches maybe? And that's going to form the 5 back of the chair. And then the other 2, if you're wondering, are for the braces for the back of that. So I'm just going to mark how big this back part of the Adirondack chair can be. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut our 2 brace pieces down to that size, so I'll know exactly how big to make the back of it. That's why we needed 17 rulers. But in the end, I mean, I think this is really inexpensive to put together, considering how high end it looks at the end. So there is our 5 rulers with the holes cut off. And then we have our 2 braces. I'm going to have the notches go towards the back of the chair, so you won't be able to see them. And I'm trying to just space those out as evenly as I can just by sight. And then I am going to hot glue this ruler onto the back by doing 5 dots of hot glue and put it down probably about 3 inches. And then here is the other brace. We're going to do the same thing, 5 dots of hot glue, flip that over. Now, if you want to get fancy and curve the cut on the top of that, you could, but I'm not that great with the saw. I thought about stapling them because before I was able to staple through 2 of them, but I noticed it started to come through a little bit. So I think hot glue is going to be plenty to keep that strong. Now it's a matter of putting this together. So it's going to kind of slide in like this. I want it to lean back to make it look like, you know, the classic Adirondack, like beach chair. Isn't the color of it lovely? I really love how this turned out. I'm so glad I decided to make it blue. So I need to attach that to that brace that we put in the back. I'm just trying to figure out exactly kind of how far back I want it to tilt and how I can attach that. So what I'm going to do is flip this over. The dowel worked really good before, so I'm going to use a dowel again for a little bit of structure for back here. So I'm going to hot glue that brace to this top ruler by using a wooden dowel to kind of glue it all together. Tilting it back like that. Now I want to make sure it stays in place, so I'm also going to take hot glue on the back of the bottom of each one of these rulers and glue those little panels of the chair to the shelf. It was kind of hard to get in there. I'm kind of spreading out the hot glue a little bit. And then, of course, we don't want to see that, so I'm just going to go in and touch that dowel up with some blue paint as well to make it kind of all blend in. Again, all that's going to be on the back, but of course, I still want it to look nice. I do a second row of hot glue on the bottom of these rulers to make sure they stay put, and that will all be hidden as well. And when you look at it, we have a little beach Adirondack chair tier tray. I had this vision in my mind all day and I couldn't wait to build it. That's why I couldn't even go to Walmart. I was like, no. I know I have Dollar Tree rulers because I stock up on them this time of year. And I absolutely love how this little beach chair tier tray turned out. Isn't this cute? Think of how many things you could do. Like for Christmas, you could put Santa in there. For Easter, you could have like an Easter bunny sit in there, or you can just load it down with beach decor. Isn't it cute? I love it. My son loves it. My husband's like, you made a baby chair. And I got very offended. I said, it's not a baby chair, but I'm glad I don't have any toddlers around because they might want to sit in it if they saw it. Because it's actually pretty big. So let's decorate it. It's a tier tray, right? I kind of wanted to go with a white theme, so I decided to see what I had from the Dollar Tree that was white. I have one of these little hanging starfish from the Dollar Tree that I thought we could hang on the back of it. The hanger was going to be a little big though, so what I did was I just knotted that up, and then we can just slide that on the back of the Adirondack chair to kind of decorate the back. I thought that would be fun since it already has a little hanger. This is the white one. You can always do whatever colors you want, but I thought like white decor would look really cute against that light blue beach chair. So everything is going to be kind of white. Kind of went with the shiny theme, which I usually don't do, but I'm just going to slide that kind of on one side like that, kind of like decorating the back of our tier tray. Now, the next item is from Shore Living. This was their little ceramic tray. It's kind of like unfinished ceramic, and it's kind of beat up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and paint it first. I'm just going to use some white acrylic, and we're just going to paint the front of this. A lot of the items that I have from the Dollar Tree that I'm going to use to decorate this are white and like really glossy. So I'm going to make this shiny too. Now, you know, acrylic paint dries just kind of like a matte finish. So I'm going to have to seal this after I paint it white, but I guess it wasn't really that white in the first place because when I used just white acrylic paint on that, that really brightened it up, didn't it? And this is just a little dish. They also had this in a starfish one, which would be really cute. I had a really old bottle of lacquer because all of my sealers are like a matte finish because I never do glossy. So I found this and we'll see if it works. It did work. I noticed it did kind of want to take a little bit some of my paint off. So I did have to touch it up just a little bit. And then just put another coat on. It actually dried really fast and it gave it like super shiny finish. Look how cute that is. You could also use the little shell bikini tops from the summer section at the Dollar Tree. It's about the same size, but I think this one's a little bit prettier if you have one of these left over from Shore Living. I think it looks great, all painted white and shiny. And we can go ahead and add that to our cute little tier tray. I'm going to kind of lean that up against the back of our chair here. And then this is one of the white shiny things I was talking about. It's a little mermaid tail from Dollar Tree. My Dollar Trees have had these for a while. I don't think they're like a new thing. They can be kind of hard to find. I have them in different colors too, like pinks and blues. This is the white one, so it's perfect for what I'm looking for on this tier tray decoration. I really wanted white, and I really wanted like ropes, and basically that's kind of it. So I was trying to really stick with white, and I had one of these like little white sea urchins decor that I had that I wasn't using anywhere. So I grabbed it. I thought that would be a nice little touch on the tier tray. So I'm going to kind of put that one right over here. It's not shiny, and I don't want to paint it because I don't want to mess it up, because I use lots of things like that with my coastal decor just laying around. Now, this is from the Shore Living line as well. It's the little blue candle dish with the twine wrapped around it. It has a little starfish. Super easy candle DIY. So I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree white sand and pour that in there, and then just use a little real white votive candle from the Dollar Tree. And I think this is going to be really cute on the front of the tier tray. I love these. I pick these up every year with Shore Living. I think they've had these all 3 years, and I always try to grab them. And I think that is going to finish off the top tier right here in front, and then we can start decorating the bottom tier. This is also from the Shore Living. It is also like that unfinished like ceramic. It's like a mermaid scales or fish scales. I thought since it was already white, I could just put the lacquer on there, but look what happens to it when you put the lacquer on there. It turned brown. I was kind of surprised, but I'm like, okay, fine. I'll paint it white first. And I didn't really want to get in all those grooves, and I did have a little bit of white primer spray paint. So I'm going to go outside with this and give it a quick spray. And hopefully we can make this all glossy like we made the little shell DIY. So once I got that dry, I sprayed it down with some more of the lacquer and made it super shiny. I did notice, it does kind of want to take the paint off a little bit. I don't know if that's something with the lacquer, but I think that looks pretty good. And I think this is going to be a really fun decoration for the tier tray as well. I'm glad I kind of went with the shiny thing for most of the things on here. It really made them look coordinated. So here's the bottom tier of our tier tray. I'm going to kind of use that little scale ball right back there in the back. And then I thought one of these like jute twine wrapped like orbs, I don't know what these are called. They're from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree too. Would be really cute back there too. It's about the same size. I really love buying this for $1.25 because I think it would be not that easy to make. It would be time consuming to wrap it with the twine, and you would have to get all your circles to lay just right. But I think that looks really great with the theme we're going with. And then I have a little white relax sign that I thought would be great on there as well. This is just from the home decor section at Dollar Tree. It's white with some gray letters that say, the gray ones are E and A. And I kind of want them to look like wood to kind of go with that rope feel, not necessarily white. So I just took like a, kind of a tan paint and a chunky brush from Dollar Tree and just working in one direction, distressing those and finishing that up with a baby wipe. It's going to give it a very easy wood grain finish on those and just kind of break up the word a little bit. And I think that's going to look really cute down there on the tier tray. And this tier tray was so fun to decorate. I think this is going to look so great in my living room. Because I do coastal, I do beach year round. And I told you guys in the last video that I'll keep making beach videos if you guys keep watching them. Now, my last beach video did not do well. So I hope you guys watch this one, please. And thank you. Okay, so this is also from the Shore Living line. It is that unfinished ceramic 2. And it has a light up candle inside of it. So super fun little fish. I think these were new this year. I've never seen these before. Now I'm not using spray paint on this one because I didn't want to spray paint the candle inside. So I'm just using white acrylic and a brush so I can get down in all the fish scales. And I just went over the whole thing because, of course, I want to make this glossy too with the lacquer. And I know that you can't do that on that unfinished ceramic. Lesson learned. I was really surprised by how brown that turned that. That was crazy, right? So we got this painted white. I dried it, and now we're just going to spray it with some of that super glossy lacquer. I have no idea how old this can is, but I'm kind of glad I used the rest of it up. Again, it kind of took some of the paint off, so I am having to touch it up again with some acrylic. And then another coat of the lacquer to make that part shiny as well. And we have a little white, light up white fish for the tier tray. I think that's going to be really cute in the front, and we can light that up as well. Isn't that cute?
And I know they've brought back like the white ceramic trays this year in 2024. Not sure if they have the fish or not, but it was really cute. I know that they have like the ceramic orbs and stuff like that that we used. And some of the candle holders might be different. But I did want to show you how I styled this one. And let's go ahead and light that up for fun. Why not? And I think I really only have room for like one more item on this tier tray. So let's use one of the ceramic shore living starfish. This is so cute. This is the one from last year. I think they changed it slightly this year where it's like lifting one of its rays maybe. For some reason I'm thinking it's a little bit different this year. But here it is, and I don't have to do anything to it. It's already glossy. The look I was going for, and we're just going to kind of hang that off the front here. So just a really fun tier tray. We made it from scratch with the little beach chair and all of the white and blue items that we added. Seashells, starfish, mermaid tails. We have a candle. I went ahead and lit it to show you what that looks like. And this tier tray has held up really well, even in storage like in my garage. I love to bring this out for the summer. It's such a fun tier tray to display just kind of any summer items. You could do coastal like I did, or you can just do summer. And it was such a fun DIY to make. Now let's get started with some more coastal Dollar Tree DIYs I've done here on my channel. So you guys know I love crafting with these wall shelves. What I noticed is sometimes they have a nice wood grain like this, and sometimes they're just plain like that. So I'm trying to use like similar ones for one project, but what I'm going to do is put 3 of these signs together to make one large seahorse sign, and I've got a lot of plans for it. I didn't want it to be just the small seahorse sign by itself because it's going to be pretty special, so I think we're going to have to make a sign to display it. So these signs are great. I'm just going to sand the holes that are drilled there for the string on the side. Sometimes they're a little bit rough, but easy peasy. I do love the wood grain on that, but I actually want a blue background. So after I glue them together, I'm just doing a bead of hot glue and just gluing them together. They're nice and thick. It's going to provide a nice sign that's sturdy. I don't need a bracer or anything from the back. The Gorilla Glue, hot glue holds it fine. So I'm going to paint it, but I only want to kind of like paint stain it a little bit because I still want to get some of that beautiful wood grain through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just using Caribbean blue acrylic paint, and I'm just kind of doing a sloppy paint job. I want some of the wood to show through, and then I follow that up with a baby wipe to kind of wipe off the excess, kind of similar just to mixing it with water. That way you can still see that wood grain through it. I think it's going to give it a nice distressed coastal beachy vibe. And I love DIYing with these signs. They do have the holes in the sides from the shelves. And you can leave that because that is kind of a beachy vibe, like the boards like that. But I think I am going to fill it in just a little bit just to make it more finished, but I think that looks pretty good. So these are the little string hangers that come with the shelf, so we might as well use them. It makes it a lot easier if you want to start your strings. Just put a little hot glue on the end. And what I want to do is I just want there to be
kind of knots on the front. So I just tie a knot in the front. Then I am just going to string it into the next one and tie a knot in the front of that. That way all of the holes eventually will all have little knots in them. I think that's going to give just a nice little nautical feel and fill in the holes. I know some of you guys, it drives you crazy when I leave the holes open, and I'm like, I meant to do that. But that's one way to deal with those. But they also have like the skinnier shelves that are even thicker. These are a little bit wider than those, and I love crafting with these. Whenever I see them, I pick up like a stack of like 5 of them because they're just so awesome. Now on this one, I went all the way across to the other side because I want to leave the holes on the top empty so that I can make a hanger for the sign. So I just have 2 more sets over here, and I'm just cutting down. I'm still on that like same piece of string that came with it. Those strings are great. I always save those and use those for crafting. I think I'm going to be using them a couple times today. But as you can see, I have plans for that seahorse. I want to do like a shell encrusted seahorse, and it turned out so cool. I saw some ideas online and I kind of took them and made them my own. And I can't wait for you to see what I came up with. So I'm going to take another one of the hangers. This time we're making the hanger for the top. And I like to feed in from behind, tie in the front, just because it hangs better. And that's kind of why I did the knots on the front on all the other ones. That way they all just kind of have knots just for fun. I just make it how long I want it and tie it. And now we can start preparing the seahorse. The seahorse is a great sign. It does say like sea on it with a little star and have lines on it. And I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see that in the final project because what I want to do is I want to encrust it with seashells, but there might be some areas where like the glue dries clear. So I'm just going to solve that just by crafting on the back. Just got to get this tag off. Sometimes these things come right off. Sometimes they make you work for it. But I think that sign is going to be just the right size to hold the seahorse. And it's going to kind of be an offset design, but it'll leave me enough room to put a word down the side as well. So just using hot glue all over the front, which is now the back of our seahorse, I center it on the sign. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to center it or not because I knew it was going to be kind of offset because we're going to use one of these Lua skirts from the summer section at the Dollar Tree, and we're going to make a really cool like design here on the seahorse. I saw this idea online. If I can find it, I think it was on Etsy, a very, very ornate seahorse, and it kind of had like a, you know, like a raffia mane, like, you know, like a horse's mane. And I thought I could totally recreate that with some of these little grass skirts from the Dollar Tree. So I want to start it like right here, that cool pattern, bumpy pattern that you see on the back of the seahorse. That's where it's going to start. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on the twine just to make it a little bit easier. I did kind of push them all together so there's like no twine spaces in between. And I'm just going to start hot gluing it right here, like when the big bump starts right there, but not doing the tail part. Now, it gets a little trickier here. I do want to make this part longer because this is like the little fin on the back of the seahorse, so I want that to have even more raffia. I tried to kind of go around, but it wasn't really working, and so I just decided to go straight across and not really worry about that because it is going to be covered up by the raffia anyway. I keep scooting those along the grass skirt, so again, no twine in between. They're all right next to each other, and then I keep hot gluing it around like the top of the seahorse. And I want it to stop right about there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my grass skirt. It's looking pretty fun already, isn't it? I thought this was so cool. And now the only thing I didn't like is some of the like curves that I went around. I found that there was a little bit like too much blue showing through, like a little bit too much space in there. So I do go in here after I finish off the top here, And I'm just going to start like pulling off pieces of the grass skirt and kind of filling in all the holes. So I kind of comb it out a little bit and kind of see where I need some more of those. I used this grass skirt in another project today too. I love crafting with these. When they're attached to the twine like that, it just makes it so much easier to work with than working with raffia. So I think 2 there, because I definitely had a lot of blue showing through there. And then I'm just going to keep working my way down the seahorse, filling in any obvious holes with more of that raffia. And I'm leaving it tied. I'm just pulling it off of the jute twine. And then what I want to do is I want to go around the entire silhouette of the seahorse with Dollar Tree rope, and I think we'll be able to disguise all of the little tied portions with the rope. So I think that looks pretty full, right? And yes, it's way, way, way too long. So now it's time to cut it. I'm trying to like get a differentiation between the longer part and the shorter part. So this part of the mane is going to be short. And then I'm going to gather the part here where the fin is. And that one's going to be longer. And then the rest of it all the way around the top of the head is going to be short too. I thought this was just a fun little coastal effect for our little seahorse. Kind of giving him a real like horse-like mane, but using some beachy raffia. So I'm digging it. This is the rope I'm going to use. It's a 9.5 foot decorative nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. This is the thinner one. And then we're just going to start here where there isn't any raffia. I thought it would be easier to start on the easier side here and go around the face. Now be careful putting down too much hot glue. The snout was a little tricky to work around because I was trying to get it to the edges. As you can see, it didn't really want to take that like little fluted shape at the end. So I'm just going to have to get it as close as I can. And then I'm just going to keep hot gluing that around. The reason I used the skinnier brown rope as opposed to the thicker is so that I could go around those bends easier with a thinner piece of rope. And then just keep hot gluing this all around. What I want to do is like create walls on the side of the seahorse so that we can fill the whole thing in with seashells. I'm going to do a similar technique to what I did on my anchor wreath DIY recently. And I'm going to use the same kind of shells too. I think they turned out really pretty. So once I get to the raffia part, I just kind of start hot gluing directly on top of those knots. This rope on this side will be slightly higher, but once we fill it all in with seashells, you won't know any different. I don't want to see the knots, I just want the raffia to be sticking out to kind of hide all the magic. And hot glue it all the way around. Now this is what we're going to use to glue down the shells, tacky glue. And these are the seashells we're going to use. These are the little tiny ones that are kind of tan in the little glass bottles from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go in, I'm going to start on the head and just do a lot of tacky glue. I want a nice thick coat of glue that's going to grab all those shells. And, you know, I had a full bottle that I found and I had some partials. I'm thinking I've probably used like maybe 3 bottles of that. And then this is one of the little black like it almost looks like a snail shell seashell from the Dollar Tree, and I thought that would be a good eye, so I put that one down first. And then I'm just gonna start going all around with those little seashells, spreading those out. I always like to organize my little seashells in those glass bottles from the Dollar Tree by pouring them out in one of the little toy organizers there from the Dollar Tree. But I did have some like of these mixed together with some other colors. And so I'm going to have to go through there and kind of sort those out because I think I'm going to need every seashell I can get. I thought I had like a ton of extra bottles of these, but not of these exact ones. And I got about here and I was like, oh no, what if I don't have enough shells? But it all worked out. It all worked out. At first I didn't want to use the little striped ones that kind of look like zebra stripes on there, but then I gave up and said, I'm gonna do it. And so I'm just working my way all the way down, filling it all in. I think I lost a little bit of footage there. I think my camera died, but basically I used all the shells there in the bottle and dumped them on there, and we're just gonna keep gluing these all over. I'm just trying to fill in like any holes if I see them, kind of making sure that everything is pushed down in the glue and level. Then I'm gonna go in with this Dollar Tree spray glue and start gluing from the top. I give it a really good coat of this. Now, I kind of wish I hadn't attached my seahorse to the sign yet, because when I did the anchor one, I went and put it in the freezer and it set up, and then I could glue the top again. This time it was too big for my freezer, so I had to put it in the refrigerator. And so I'm going to go in with the tacky glue like I did with the anchor, thinking, oh yeah, it's all gonna be set up, right? And it was not. Like when I started like trying to use my foam brush to like put the glue on there, all the shells were like wanting to come off and like stick to me. And I was like, oh no, yeah, the refrigerator technique did not work near as well as the freezer one did. So you might have to let it dry in between coats of glue. I already have it all on there though, so I'm just going to use my fingers and kind of push the glue in between all of the shells, because I definitely want everything to stay down and stay glued. Then I go over it with some more of the spray adhesive. Can't glue it too much. Some of those shells are a little bit larger and I really want them to stay put. Now, you know, this is a project that, you know, you're using a lot of glue, so you're going to have a lot of drying time too. Once I got everything done, I just laid it flat overnight and let it dry for good. But I'm going to use some of these little Dollar Tree wood letters, and I'm going to spell out sea life here on the side. I thought that would be fun, and since it's not really symmetrical anymore, I kind of had open space over there that I felt like I really needed to put something. Now, at first I was going to paint those little wood letters white, because I like the contrast of white against blue, but then I put them on there like natural like that, and I thought, that looks really good with the raffia and the colors that I'm using, so let's just leave them natural. So I did spray it with another coat of glue on top of my seashells, and then I'm just going to use hot glue, and we're just going to glue these all the way down. What I found is these wood letters from the Dollar Tree, I always save them. I have a big bag of them. I really wish they sold like just some of the more common letters separately, because I had a giant bag and I had like no ease. I had to open like another bag. And I'm like, I need just vowels, please. But I think that looks really good. And it was even easier because I didn't have to paint the letters. So there is our little shell encrusted seahorse. This is how he looks, all dried. See how clear the tacky glue dries. The seashells look beautiful, and I just love the little raffia mane. I think he's so cute. What do you guys think about him?
I have him hanging in the hallway right outside my bedroom, and I love him. Now for the next DIY, I picked up one of these anchor signs. Now I can still kind of find these in my crafter square section a little bit, the coastal signs, but I did not see them with the shore living line this year. It's a pretty simple shape that I think you could probably cut out of any kind of cardboard, like cereal box even. Something that you could cut through with a stencil. And if I'm able to, I will try to include a printable for that if you needed like a stencil shape for the background, because you're not going to be able to see that part anyway, the wood sign, if you're not able to find one. And I'm using some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. That's the thinner rope. Basically, you could use whatever you could find. I know it's been a little bit slim pickings on the rope lately. I seem to be able to find the thinner one a lot more. And I just hot glue it right down the center of the anchor and bringing it up here on the side.
Now, using that same piece, I'm hot gluing it around the edge of my anchor, kind of framing it out but I want to kind of use one piece of rope as far as I can with this. There are going to be some areas that I'll have to fill in where I will have to cut individual pieces. But as long as I'm going, I'm going to try to use one piece. I decided to kind of skip the side parts there. I thought those would be easier to come back and do separately. Just keep going with that same piece of rope around the ring at the top, going down the side, and then we're going to go around this side of the anchor as well. Just kind of doing one section at a time. So my hot glue does not dry out. And trying to keep that anchor shape for this little rope DIY. So we go all the way back down to the starting point, going to make a sharp turn and come back up to the top. Now we kind of hit the ring part, so I do decide to cut it there. And then we can start on the other side, kind of doing the same thing, coming down to the bottom. And then sharp turn, come right back up and fill that in. That looks great. I can continue that around the ring. Now, I got to that point and I kind of ran out of room because I didn't have it spaced great over there, but I show you how I'll fix that. I'm going to go in and finish off the ring though while we're up there with another piece of rope, gluing that down tight. I've never made a rope project like this, but I love how it turned out. It was super fun. So there wasn't quite enough room to get my rope in there, but I figured that if I used my heat gun, I could loosen my hot glue enough where I could kind of push that over a little bit, and that worked. And then I'm going to hot glue that down, that last piece. And that was one piece of rope. That was how far it went. And so we're going to go ahead and open another package here. This was a really easy DIY to make, and I just love how it turned out. It's so coastal. It would also go with like a nautical feel. So this one, kind of tricky. I kind of start in the middle, go up to the middle, turn corners, trying to fill in any space, and then gonna come around the side and kind of go into the little point shape, gluing it right next to the first row of rope that we did. And then I just decided to keep going kind of in a circular fashion just to kind of fill up the entire tip. Now I thought I might as well do the other side in the reverse pattern while I could still see exactly what I did, so I'll know how to do the same thing. Kind of going down the middle to the middle, starting in the middle, going to the middle of the anchor, and then following that to the tip of the anchor and kind of going in a circular pattern until I fill that completely in. Now we still have like lots to fill in there, so we're just going to have to be kind of creative. I start here where we kind of left off and go around to the bottom and make a sharp turn, trying to kind of fill in that like triangular shape and come back down. Trimming it there, I didn't really think I could make it go any further than that. And then just cutting down some little pieces to fill up the hole. Now, I find that you gotta kind of hold it when you're cutting those small pieces like that, otherwise they'll kind of fall apart. So I'm gonna repeat the same thing here on the other side, same steps. I didn't have this one spaced quite as evenly though, so I'm just gonna kind of fill up the two little spaces with the little rope pieces, and it looks pretty good. Now we just have the little side parts here. We're gonna start in the middle and go around this little circular pattern here on the side. And then I thought we should try to use one piece on this as well, just kind of working in a circular pattern and gluing that down, cutting it down to size, filling that in. And isn't this cool? I love a rope anchor. I think that's a really fun idea. We're going to go in on the other side and do the same thing. And it's already got like the ring on the top of the anchor, so it's going to be really easy to attach a hanger for this. It's kind of a medium-sized project. This would be cute on a door or hanging on a wall. Actually, you know, you could probably even display it on a shelf too. You could kind of lean it up against something. Like that would be really cool on a cabinet as well. So once I get it all glued on there, I'm just going to go in with my heat gun, try to clean up any of the hot glue strings that we might have. And it also helps the hot glue disappear if any of it's really visible. I'm also going to go in, since it's a rope project, and burn off all my fuzzies all the way around. Now, I thought it was really cute as is. I do want to decorate it a little bit, though. I was kind of thinking, you know, it probably needs like a rope decor, but it's already covered in rope. So I'll show you what I do for that. For the hanger, I'm going to hang mine. So I use just a little bit of twine here and just knot that around the ring. Super easy. And then I thought we'd switch it up and go with the white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. You guys know I always have a stash of both colors because I love crafting with this. Great for coastal decor. And you know how anchors have like the rope tied and like usually kind of wrapped around it when you have like an anchor for display? I thought we could do that with this white rope. So I'm just going to kind of, I want to like kind of the unwound edge of that to show through. So I kind of string that through the ring at top and then just start wrapping it around the middle of the anchor. And then I kind of want to wrap it around the bottom parts of the anchor as well. It felt a little awkward at this stage trying to figure out exactly how I wanted it. So I try a couple times just to try to get it like exactly kind of the vibe. I just kind of want it to look like it's draped around it. And that kind of like anchor feel. So I'm going to cut that down to size, kind of hot glue this to the bottom of the anchor so it stays in place. And then I do kind of have to secure it to the back with some more hot glue just to make sure that it kind of keeps the shape that I wanted. And then I also glue it to the top there. I kind of like the raw edges, kind of unwind those a little bit and make it look a little bit rugged. And then I wanted like a slight coastal touch, but nothing too much. I decided to use some of those little tiny starfish that I get on Amazon that are in my shop, some of the larger ones actually, of the two, and just glue a couple of those on. I liked the ivory color combination with this. You could also use seashells. That'd be really cute as well. But how cute is this DIY? I thought it was really easy. Just a little bit of rope gluing and all items from the Dollar Tree. And look how cute this little anchor looks hanging in my house. I think I might use this one in the bathroom.
Super cute, and I think you could probably recreate it again without the wood sign if you're not able to find one, but that's a fun rope idea.
Okay, next beach DIY. You guys know I'm obsessed with these burlap canvases from Dollar Tree. And I thought we could try to make a sea turtle one. We all love sea turtles. And so this is the 8x10 size. And I thought we could use a Dollar Tree frame, a canvas from the Dollar Tree, and a Dollar Tree summer tablecloth. This is the sea turtle one. I'm still able to find these occasionally in my kitchen aisle, but this was a summer product from Dollar Tree this year. And there's two different sea turtles on there. There's kind of a smaller one that I've DIY'd with before, and there's also a bigger one. Now, all of my bigger ones were kind of on a seam, so they're folded, which I wasn't a fan of, but we're going to make it work. So I just cut out the sea turtle that I wanted. Isn't he cute? I think he's a perfect size for this 8x10 canvas. I just got to figure out a way to get that seam out of there and a way to attach it to the burlap because it can be a little tricky. And this is a very thin plastic tablecloth with a very thin flannel backing. If you have ever used any of the flannel backed tablecloths from Dollar Tree, you would know they're very thin. So be very careful with cutting it out. I'm just going over all the areas. Making sure I cut off all of the white part. I'm also making sure I don't really want the fins to be like super pointy either. So I kind of round those in and then paint those or cut those all out. Now, I was trying to think, I've used the fabric Mod Podge on the burlap before. Kind of works, so I wasn't sure how it would work with this fabric, but I thought since it was plastic, I might be able to iron it on, so that's what we're going to try to do with this. So I also need to get the wrinkle out of it. I was kind of worried about that interfering with attaching it too, so I thought we could try to iron that out carefully too. So I'm afraid, the plastic is going to melt. So what I'm going to do is just take some parchment paper from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put that underneath of it on my ironing mat, and then also put one on top of it to protect my easy press. You can always use an iron for this. I just have this in my crafting station, and I'm going to carefully iron it and see what happens. Well, as you can see, the plastic on the front wanted to stick to my parchment paper, but it was super easy to pull off. So I know it'll melt, but I'm not sure if it will melt on the burlap, but we're going to give it a try and see if this works. Now, I kind of need a spacer to go on the back since it has a frame, and I have found that the little bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree work perfect for this, 2 of them underneath of the burlap canvas. I discovered that the other day when I was using HTV on these because I needed some kind of a plate to go in the back to make it iron on. So we're going to use the same kind of technique with the Dollar Tree tablecloth. So I kind of just lay him on there. The iron did a great job of getting the wrinkle out of him. And again, I'm going to cover it with parchment paper to protect my iron. And I'm just going to easy press over this. I'm like at 305 degrees, but you can use any iron if you don't have one of these. And I just kind of ironing over it. No idea if this is going to work. I did find that it was sticking to my parchment paper again. So what I did was just kind of try to get it started. Once you get it started, if you hold it flat, it's just like taking the transfer paper off of vinyl. You can just peel it right off. And it worked really well. The flannel was so thin on the back that I think the plastic really helped to attach it. I'm going to put my parchment paper over it again and go over it one more time just to make sure everything is good and secure. It kind of melts it to the burlap. It also melted some sap there down in the corner that you see from the wood on the side. I've never had that happen before, but it's not too distracting. Now, there were a few little tips, like right here where it wanted to pull up when I pulled the transfer paper off, and some of the little flippers that weren't super stuck. And so then I just used some fabric Mod Podge. This is just like a special Mod Podge because it's a little bit thicker, makes it a little bit easier for fabric, and glue those down. Now, I got this frame at the Dollar Tree, and you can see my Mickey Mouse shirt in that reflection. Did you see that? I got this shirt because we went to Disney World for my son's graduation. We had family in town, and they all wanted to go to Animal Kingdom. It was so much fun. So this blue frame, I thought we could give it a makeover and make it look beachy. It's an 8x10 frame, so it's going to kind of fit the 8x10 canvas. You have to be really careful when you take these little staples out. Normally, if I bend them back down and just pull them out, I don't have any problems. On this one, though, it did kind of crack one of them, but I was going for a beachy distressed look, so it might even add to it a little bit. Now, I love the color. I think the color is perfect, but I don't like that metallic gold. I don't think that looks very coastal or beachy at all. So we're going to have to give this frame a makeover to make it go with our little sea turtle canvas. So I started with some chalk paint in the color of cashew. I thought the chalk paint might stick to that metallic color. It's a little bit harder to cover than if it was just regular paint. And I'm just going all over all of the gold parts with that. I'm not taping it off, and I don't really care if I get some on the blue because I want it to all be super distressed and coastal looking, but I do want to cover most of the metallic if I can. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the inner part of our frame. In the end, I want it to look like an old distressed blue frame. So I also take a chunky brush and distress the frame after I get the gold edges kind of painted that lighter sand color. I always use this cashew chalk paint by Waverly because I think it kind of looks like the color of sand, but it does good for like a driftwood look as well. And it did take a couple coats, even with chalk paint, to try to mask that metallic feel. I mean, I love the blue frame. I don't know if I would buy this one again, though, because I had to paint so much of this that I might as well have just painted the whole thing. Sometimes I buy the gray ones. They've been kind of falling apart of me a little bit, though, when I went to put canvases in there. So this one did a little bit better job today, but I wasn't quite as aggressive with putting my canvas in there. But I love that the 5x7 and 8x10 burlap canvases from Dollar Tree are like standard sizes so that you can use frames and you don't have to make them. So you can kind of see the notch where it kind of busted right there on the right side, but I think it's probably going to add to the charm. A little bit of natural distressing, right? So I'm just going over all of the metallic parts until I've pretty much masked all of the gold. Then I'm going to distress all of the frame anyway. I like that original turquoise color, but I want to kind of mix it up and make it look distressed and different colors of blue as well. So like this color is like that cloudless color. We'll mix some of that in there as well. Or actually, I think this color was Caribbean blue. And I just distressed, you know, a little here, a little there, just to bring another shade of blue in it too, just to make it nice and coastal. That's what I meant, that, you know, I might as well have just got a different frame because the gold metallic was a little hard to mask. That super shiny finish. So I distress with blue, then I go back and distress again with that cashew color, and I think that looks super beachy. Now there's a, I'm going to be careful because when I try to pry these in here, my frames like to fall apart and I don't want my frame to fall apart. So I'm trying to figure out which way kind of fits in there, kind of doesn't. We're going to try to make it work. I'm going to hot glue along the back of the frame to attach it so that I'm not super forcing it in there. But it is kind of going in there all on its own because you could see that was sitting pretty nicely. So I just kind of even that up, and then I'm going to hot glue the other sides from the back as well. And then I also hot glue the corners because that is where the frame falls apart on me every single time from the Dollar Tree. And I did 2 coats of hot glue on each corner. I've also used staples, but you got to be careful because the staples can go all the way through. I just want it to stay together. Then I'm going to use the existing back. Because I want this to be a stand-up sign and it's already got the little leg on there. And to attach this is super easy. All you got to do is hot glue all around the back edges of your burlap canvas and then just glue that cardboard piece back on there and you have a nice little stand-up burlap sea turtle sign. I wasn't sure if this DIY was going to turn out, but I was very pleased with the results. The frame needed a little bit more painting than I would like, but I think it turned out really cute. And how cute is that sea turtle? I did have the little sap issue down here. I tried to melt it a little bit with my heat gun. It kind of made it a little bit better, but it's not super distracting from it. And then I just wanted to make sure that this flipper was going to stay put. So I put a little bit more Mod Podge on that. But otherwise, this coastal beach DIY is ready to go. Isn't he cute? I love him. And this is how it turned out. I love the burlap, like you can kind of see through it. But the sea turtle attached to it really well. And nobody would know that was a little sea turtle from a Dollar Tree tablecloth.
And I was just in Dollar Tree and I was really happy to see that they brought that sea turtle line back for the summer section. So you should be able to find those tablecloths. Now for the next one, we're going to be using one of the galvanized metal shore living shells. Again, I don't think they had these this year, but my Crafter Square still has them from time to time that are left over, I think.
And then one of these little signs, this is kind of beachy, as you can see, but it's actually just from the regular like decor department. at Dollar Tree. It's not something that's with the Shore Living line, but I guess it could be. But I am just actually going to redo it completely and kind of make it my own. And I always like to work on the back of the Dollar Tree projects because it kind of gives you like a blank canvas to kind of start off with. So all I did was just remove the tag on the back there. And then we're going to kind of tape off this little bottom section here. And I'm going to show you how I kind of combine these two items together to make a really cute little beach decoration. So the first thing we're going to do is paint this. I am actually mixing two colors together. This is like Caribbean blue and ivory mixed together. And it's going to give me that really soft beachy blue, which is kind of what I'm going for with this project. Right here on the top. Now here is the little galvanized metal shell. I never know quite what to do with these things because they're usually like a hanging item and sometimes you don't want them to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to cover up the little holes there in the metal part of the shell with just some masking tape. I thought that might work a little bit better than trying to spackle like that thin metal. I don't think that would work at all. So we're going to give that a go. And I want to use a chalk paint because I want really good coverage. So I'm just using some ivory chalk paint and going all over. I also kind of wanted like a thicker paint like this to give me a little bit of texture because again, we're trying to cover up like the masking tape that we use to cover the holes. And you know, we want to give it texture because the seashell is going to definitely have texture more so than just the lines in there. And so we're going to paint that all over, basically painting it the same color as my mat. So it's a little hard to see there. Sorry about that. Give it a quick dry, and I'm going to go over it with just a little bit more. You can paint this galvanized metal. It's usually not my first idea, but I think it made it look a lot better than it would have looked if I would have left it like that metal color. Now I want to spell out my own word on here. And so I'm going to use some of these little galvanized metal letters from the Dollar Tree to spell it out. They're just the right size. Now you have to be careful when you buy these at the Crafter Square at Dollar Spot because you're only getting half the alphabet when you do the metal. So I just am going to spell out the word beach. And I kind of want to do the same thing that I did on the metal shell. So just painting them all over with ivory chalk paint. And so we have like that wood base that's really pretty on that sign and the light blue sign and then our little metal seashell and our letters painted ivory. I do want them to look a little distressed though. So just going over everything with Antique Wax by Waverly and it gives me that cool texture and color that you would see like on a real seashell. Now, I've done this technique on a plastic Shore Living dish as well, and that's really going to give you the texture to make it look real. This one doesn't look, you know, it doesn't really look like a real shell, but it looks cool. And I'm going to go ahead and distress the letters as well. If you ever feel like you distress too much, you can go back a little bit with your original color, which mine was ivory, distress it a little more to brighten it up. So we have our little blue sign. I'm going to kind of try to find the center just so I can center my center letter. That's going to help me a little bit with spacing. And I'm just going to attach those to that base with glue. I like that wood grain. I think that looks really nice and beachy already. So we're just going to glue our letters on here. You could spell out whatever you want. Using this size letter though, you're not going to have a lot of room for a very big word. And if you wanted, you could use, like, the other side did have, like, a beachy saying on it as well. I wanted mine to be a little bit simpler with just the word beach. So that looks pretty good. Now I think we can just put this thing together. So I'm just going to use hot glue to attach the little metal shell to the sign.
And I do kind of have a love-hate relationship with hot glue and galvanized metal. Sometimes it holds up pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't. This one actually did. I added more hot glue to the back and just used some of the Dollar Tree wood dominoes to kind of fill in that area. You could also use like a little Jenga block or something like that. Or you could use like some E6000. That works really well for the metal items. But if you do have one of those metal seashells or can get them, this is just a really fun way to display it. And I'm always looking for things to do with it. They have so many galvanized metal items like that from Dollar Tree that I think a lot of people struggle with crafting sometimes.
Okay, next DIY, we're going to use some Dollar Tree craft wood. This is also really great to make signs with if you can't find the shelves that I used before. It's a different shape and size, and I wanted to show you something a little bit different. So we're going to use that one for this one instead of my favorite shelves. It is also nice and thick and not bowed. Real wood, I love that. One side of the wood is real rough and one side is real smooth. So we're definitely going to paint the smooth side, make our job a little bit easier here. So I'm just using like an ivory acrylic paint all over. As you can tell, that wood like really kind of soaked it in. So I am going to have to dry that and go on there with another coat. And what I'm going to do is put these two boards together to make a larger sign. And we're going to do some more rope art. I thought it was still a little faint, so I went over with another coat there. And then I'm also going to distress it with a little antique wax by Waverly and a chunky brush, just working in one direction. And then I follow that up with a baby wipe just to give that nice coastal farmhouse distress look that I love. Now it's time to put these two together too. I do a bead of hot glue to glue them together. And it wasn't holding great, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more hot glue. And I decided to use a little jumbo popsicle stick and some hot glue to brace it in the back just to make sure that it stays together because the boards are a little bit heavy. Now for this one, we are going to do rope art octopus. I've seen people do many versions of these, and so you can use mine for reference or you can go online and kind of look at what other people have done. I'm definitely sketching this one out with a pencil because, you know, an octopus has 8 tentacles that we got to fit in here. And so this is how I did mine. I'm going to have like 4 of the tentacles in front and then like 4 of the tentacles coming from behind. I want to include most of them on this sign, but some of them are going to be cut off just because they kind of have to be, like that one. And I kind of want to fill in the side areas too with them. So just kind of think about where you want them to be. The ones that go behind it, you're going to want to go behind everything so you don't have any lines there where you really don't need any. And basically everywhere that I am drawing a tentacle, everywhere that I'm putting the pencil, I'm going to have some rope. So I have all 8 tentacles. This is how exactly I drew mine. I will try to remember to put a picture of this in the Facebook group so you can use it for reference if you want to make yours similar. Then I'm going to use that same cloudless apple barrel paint and a tiny brush and just go one tentacle at a time. I know it's asking a lot to freehand this stuff and not use a stencil, but I really think that freehand is kind of the way to go on these, especially if you use a pencil like that, because if you mess it up, you just erase it and draw it again. So don't be scared. I promise it's going to turn out cute. So I just do one tentacle at a time, and I'm just going to take my time, try to stay in line. We're going to do the entire octopus that color, and it's kind of like a cartoon version of an octopus. Very simple. Anybody, I think, could draw it. You just kind of have to get your tentacles all to fit and all to kind of make sense. So I have this tentacle from the back kind of gets cut off, and this tentacle here kind of gets cut off. I kind of wish I would have started my octopus a little bit higher because I kind of have extra space at the top and not quite as much space at the bottom as I would have liked. And I'll show you how I fix that when I go to hang this. but only a few more tentacles here to paint. And then we can paint the octopus too. You can kind of see my pencil lines through my paint, so I can kind of still see where I need to put my rope. And we're just going to finish off the rest of the octopus with that blue color. Now, since we are like doing 8 tentacles and they're really not that large, I'm going to use that same twine from Walmart because it's kind of an in-between size between the jute cord from Dollar Tree and the Dollar Tree rope. And I am using a finer tip hot glue gun because I don't want a whole lot of hot glue because this rope's not super thick. And I just started right there at that section of the tentacle there at the bottom and then gluing it up around our little octopus head. With the octopus head, you kind of want to make it bulbous shape like that, kind of like a light bulb. And I'm going to continue this same piece of twine as long as I can. That'll make it a little bit easier. And this Dollar Tree cord, or Dollar Tree Walmart jute cord, is definitely a little rough. So you'll notice I do a lot of trimming and pulling out of some of the crazy fibers as we're going along, just trying to keep it as clean as we can. And I'm still going on this same piece. Since this is the front part of the octopus, this part should be easy. I'm kind of trying to remember which tentacles were in front. So this one here was in front too. I'm going to go ahead and do like a sharp little turn there, pinch that together, and then have that come down and around this tentacle. And then it's going to go off of the sign. So I will have to end this one and start a new one. So I'm just going to cut that off there at the bottom of the board. And we're going to start here on that same tentacle and try to continue this on. And again, I can kind of see my pencil lines there, so I kind of know what was where. And this one was a front tentacle too in my plan. So I go straight to the bottom, trim it, start again on the other side of that tentacle, pinch it again, try to keep this one going. And this one went way up here, down. And so I go around that all the way down it. And then this one's going to kind of come up and kind of have a dead end here, right about here. Because that other one right next to it is part of this tentacle that's going to be coming from behind it. And so now it's just a matter of cutting pieces to fit all of the smaller sections like that tentacle and this one back here until we have it all outlined. And I think this is so fun. When my son said that I should make an octopus DIY, and I was like, I am making an octopus DIY. And he was like, yay. I was like, how did you know? But make sure you don't cut them too short. I did have to kind of patch one there. And just trying to fill up all of the edges that are kind of exposed there of all of our little background tentacles. So this was a lot of little rope and gluing, but super fun to create. And again, you could do about any sea creature. So today we've done a sea turtle, we've done a nautilus, and now we're doing an octopus. So I got it all on there. I'm going in with my lighter, burning off all the fuzzies, trying to clean that up a little bit. And I didn't really like the extra spot on the top of my sign, so I took it to my saw real quick, trimmed it down a little bit just to make myself happier. And now we can drill some holes to make a hanger because I want this cute octopus to be a hanging sign. So this is 11 inches long, this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to do like 2.5 inches in from each side. And then this is just heavy duty wood, so we're just going to use a drill right through there and make our own hangers. Kind of a step you don't have to do if you do use the little shelves. I'm going to go ahead and use that same jute cord from Walmart, hot gluing the ends, stringing it from the back, tying a knot in the front, and we're just going to make a simple little hanger for this. Now, I was trying to get opinions again from my son on this. I'm like, does my octopus need eyes? And, we went back and forth. And then I was like, you know what? I think it does need eyes, but I think it's really cute without it. So you can see it before and then you'll see it after. You can decide if you want your octopus to have eyes too. But I just started in the middle over on the side where I thought the eyes would be. And we are just gluing little spiral patterns of that jute cord, kind of overlapping the jute cord on the side there until we get a nice size eye. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, it kind of looks like little hypnotized eyes on my octopus, like my octopus is hypnotized because it's got like that spiral shape. But you know what? I think it turned out really good. And I'm glad that I gave my little octopus some eyes because I think it gave him like a lot of personality. Now, the only other thing my son suggested, he was like, you know what? You did the dots on the sea turtle. Why don't you do dots the same way? And you can do 2 feet. So that's what I'm attempting to do. Using the tip of a tiny paintbrush from Dollar Tree dipped in some ivory acrylic. And I am just kind of doing little suction cup 2 feet, on the bottom. I want to do it on the back ones if I can. I got kind of confused over on this side, like which one was my back tentacle and which one wasn't. So I'm going to kind of erase some of these on one that I didn't really want because that was actually a front one. And so half of our tentacles have little white dots on it. And I think it turned out so cute. So here it is. This is our rope art octopus. I think it's so fun. I think it would be really cute with coastal decor. It would be really cute in a kid's room as well because it's kind of got like a little bit of a cartoon vibe. But I love it. I have no idea where I'm going to put it. Maybe I might put it in a bathroom or maybe out in my Florida room.
And some of you guys were asking for DIYs with outdoor living items because I know so many of you guys didn't get them in this year, which is a total bummer. Up next, let's make a mermaid gnome.
I found this great little pencil case. It's a mermaid tail from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use that with one of those little metal round signs from the Dollar Tree. Some cardboard from a pizza box, a wood bead for the nose. I get those on Amazon, but you don't have to use a bead that big, but I like my nose for my gnomes to be a little bit larger. And some Dollar Tree macrame cord. So the first thing we're going to do is paint our little gnome nose. I kind of want it to be flesh color, but I kind of want it to be pink too. So I had like this tan color that I went over the little wood bead with first. And then I followed that up with like a salmon color, kind of mixing the two colors together while it was wet to kind of give it like a little blushed little gnome nose for our gnome. Now, I have a couple of these little mermaid pencil bags, and I've always wanted to do something with them, and I haven't been able to figure out what to do with them until now. It worked perfect for a beach gnome. Now, it does have a zipper, as you can see, because it is like a little pencil case, so I do want to remove that. That's kind of in my way. So it was easy to kind of remove it from the back. The front was a little bit more difficult, though, because I didn't really want to cut through the mermaid scale pattern, the little sequence. And so I'm just going to cut off the zipper. And then how I ended up doing it was just kind of pulling it a little bit and cutting the strings where it was sewed on, so I don't really have to cut through any of the sequins. And that what's inside is a little white like cotton bag, which you could leave in there if you want. I decided what was the purpose of it really to be in there, so I just took it out. And that looks pretty good. It's got like a plush back and a sequins front. But I'm going to use that bag that I removed for a template for my pizza box. I was trying to find some cardboard because I want something stiff to go in the mermaid tail to make it stand up. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of floppy. So I cut out the cardboard about the same size as the little bag that went inside of it to make it rigid. And we're just going to put it right in there. Now, I kind of want it to be attached so it doesn't so it'll be easier to put together. So I do a little bead of hot glue on the cardboard and kind of fold my sequins over, kind of sandwiching that in. My sequins part was a little bit longer because I didn't remove any of that part of the little mermaid tail. It's so pretty. I love the colors on this. And then I thought this little sign from the Dollar Tree, they have these available in white or black. It doesn't matter which one you get because you're not really going to be able to see it. We're just going to use it for the structure and for the base. So that's going to be our gnome. And we're going to build off of that. Most of the gnome that you're going to be able to see is the beard anyway, right? So this is macrame cord that I got at Dollar Tree. If you can't find this, you could always use Dollar Tree mop heads. There's lots of other options. There's like the fluffy mop head, or you can get, you know, like a traditional mop head. You can use lots of different kinds of white strings if you wanted to have yours to have a white beard, like I do. So I'm going to kind of start here on the bottom. And I want to do like a first layer of the beard. I want the beard to be nice and thick, so I'm going to end up doing a couple of layers here. And I'm just kind of cutting the cord down like one at a time and just hot gluing that to my sign, kind of like working my way up the circle there until I kind of get over to the side where it's going to be wide enough for like the hat to come down over it. And one of my Crafty Beach Bum viewers was telling me that these are called gonks, if you can't see their eyes. So that's just a random little gnome fact. But I love making gnomes, and I thought this would be a really fun little beach project today. We have a lot of variety, though. We have lots of different things that we're making today. I can't wait for you to see. Now, once I got my first row on there, I wanted to comb it out. Now, normally I can comb this stuff out, but I was having problems with this one, and it's like 3 strings wound together for the macrame cord. I found that it was easier just to actually just unwind them. So I'm going to skip that part, kind of get to the end, so that you can see what it looks like with the first row all unwound. And as you can see, it's a good start to a beard, but it's not quite thick enough. But I'm going to go ahead and trim it while I can get to this part of the beard, kind of making it a little bit shorter on the sides. And I don't really want it to be longer than my sign itself, so I need to trim the bottom part of it too. Just trying to even that up a little bit. And then I think like the little gnome nose will go there. I'm going to attach the wood bead there with like the hole in the wood bead going straight up and down so that you won't be able to see it. The hole in the top will be covered by the hat, and the hole in the bottom will be pointed down. So it's just a matter of making a second row now for our little gnome beard. So I kind of figured out what size I needed and just kind of cut them in bulk to make this a little bit faster. And then just starting on the side of his nose, we're just going to start gluing these on here until we get over to this side. This little beach gnome was so easy to put together, and I was really kind of wondering, you know, what to use for a body. And then I kind of thought about this sign and realized, you know, it doesn't really need a body because you're really not going to be able to see it in the final project. But I love these little metal signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm always trying to find ways to craft with them. So just like before, the best way to make this look fluffy is to unwind it. So I just went all the way across and unwound all of the macrame cord, leaving a big, fluffy little gnome beard. So that's what it looks like at this point. I do need to trim it up, kind of like we did before. Trying to shape it into a cute little beard by trimming it. So cute already, and it's not even put together yet. So his little hat's gonna go on like that. It is the perfect size for this side. It slides right over, and it doesn't fall over anymore since we put the cardboard from the pizza box inside. So I'm just gonna flip it over and add some hot glue and glue the back of the little mermaid tail pencil case to the back of the sign. And it's going to be kind of a flat gnome, but it's still super cute. And then I'm going to put hot glue underneath the sequins and kind of pull it down a little bit where its eyes would be. kind of like that. I like the little fin at the end of the tail because it kind of like goes over to the side, which makes it look really cute when you display it. Now I wanted to decorate the hat a little bit more, and I love this mesh white ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Actually, is this the white one? Yeah, this is the white one. But it's a little too thick for this, so I'm just going to cut mine in half to make a thinner ribbon. I think it looks a little bit like fishnet, and I like to use it for fishnet a lot. So I thought we would just wrap fishnet all around the mermaid tail, and we could do a little bit of coastal decor there. At first, I was going to put one of those little mermaid chipboard pieces on there, but I ended up deciding to decorate the fishnet with shells instead. So we're just going to secure that to the back. I just thought shells would make it look really super beachy and fun. And so using some of the little tiny shells from the Dollar Tree, these are the ones that come in the little glass bottles. I'm just going to decorate the fishnet ribbon with a couple different kinds of shells. I think that the starfishes from Amazon, I buy those little tiny starfish on there. Those are available in my Amazon shop below. And then I think that little like snail shell is like just from my personal stash, but all the other ones there are from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to do 2 on top, 2 on bottom. I just kind of wanted them to all be a little bit unique and make some fun decor. And just hot glue those to the sequins on the hat. Then to finish it off, I have 2 of these little coral pieces from the fairy garden section at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue 1 little piece of coral to each side just to decorate the base. That will be kind of in front of our gnome, and the beard will kind of hang down and fill up all of the space there where the gnome would be. And I think it looks really cute. That's kind of how it looks like with all of the macrame cord just untangled. I thought maybe we could make it look even a little bit fluffier if we were to comb it. Before I tried to comb it, and I couldn't really comb it to unwind it like I wanted to. But at this point, I can get a comb through it. So that's what I decided to do, is just comb it out, make it nice and fluffy. That also helps you to see if you have any like loose fibers or if anything then needs to be trimmed up a little bit. And so we're going to give him a final trim. And I think he looks pretty good. What do you guys think about this little beach gnome? I think he turned out so precious. And I'm so glad I put him together. I can't wait to display him in my home. And let me show you what he looks like. See the little tail, you can kind of like push it off to the side a little bit, kind of tilt it, give it a little character. And our little mermaid tail gnome hat with a little beard and some coral in front. I think he's so sweet. I love him. I hope you do too. Okay, are you ready for another sea creature? I thought this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, that's that burlap ribbon they have all the time, would make great tentacles for a jellyfish. I also have some macrame string that I got at the Dollar Tree, but any white string will do, and some of the white burlap from the Crafters Square section. I also got a long skinny sign, so I thought we could like turn this vertically and it'd make a great background for a jellyfish. Jellyfish are beautiful. They sting, but they're beautiful. So since I'm going to be using it the other way, I just went ahead and took the hanger off because it's not going to work. And then I'm just going to cut out a little square of this white burlap, which I'm so glad they got this in because I love crafting with it. I do have white burlap available in my Amazon shop below if you're not lucky enough to find any at Dollar Tree. Because that's how I've always bought it in the past. They do sell like 6-inch rolls, I think is what I normally got by there. And then I'm just going to use a Sharpie, and I'm not using a stencil or anything, but I'm just going to draw out the top of a jellyfish. It's super easy. It's like half a circle, like little wavy lines at the bottom like that. It looks like a jellyfish. And I think that's going to fit on our sign. So I'm just going to cut the inside of the Sharpie, so I cut all of that color off. And this was kind of an easy thing to cut out, but if it was more complex, a lot of you guys have suggested that if you Mod Podge this first and let it dry, cuts really well with no fraying, so there is that. But I had pretty good luck on this one. So I kind of want to tilt it to the side, kind of giving it that jellyfish vibe, like it's like undulating through the ocean. And I'm just going to leave the background. I love these wood signs from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so pretty. And I put a layer of Mod Podge down first, and then I put the burlap, and then I do Mod Podge over because you can't really Mod Podge it too much. I want it to stay down. And I didn't really have too much fraying there, but I did clean up what I had. And I did use maybe a little bit too much Mod Podge, so I'm just going to clean that up a little bit here with a baby wipe, and then we can start making tentacles. This one was so easy. This just totally reminds me of like those larger tentacles that come out from jellyfish, you know what I mean? So I thought we probably only have room for like 2 of them on here because this sign is pretty skinny. So I'm just going to start here at the top and attach it there. Now I'm not going to glue it all down. I'm only going to glue it down here and there. That way it looks like it's like twisting and turning. Some of it's lifted up off the sign. You know, it's switching directions like a little jellyfish tentacle would be. And I think that looks pretty cool. So there's definitely room to do at least 1 more of those. I initially wanted to do 3, but I didn't think I was going to be able to make it work. So again, I'm going to start at the top. And then I'm just going to kind of do like a random pattern down like I did before. Just doing a dot of hot glue whenever I want it to like switch directions or kind of like raise things up. I think that looks pretty good. Now for the rest of the tentacles, I'm using some of that macrame rope from the Dollar Tree. This is awesome, but you could also use like any kind of cotton twine. They usually have that in the hardware section if you can't find this. It's going to be pretty similar. And I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm only going to like attach it in certain spots so that it'll give it that curly shape like a little jellyfish tentacle would have. And kind of fill in the left side of the sign with this. Now, I probably should have used maybe my more fine tip hot glue gun with this because this hot glue gun does like spill out like a lot of hot glue. And I did have to go in and try to clean that up a little bit at the end, but this one's going to kind of overlap. It's nice and thin, so I think it's okay if it overlaps some of the other tentacles. And again, just a curvy fashion. And then I think I have room for 1 more right here in the middle. And again, I want to just make it curve. So easy to do by only gluing down some parts of it. And I like the tips to be a little bit curved as well. I think that looks cool. And then I'm going to have to go in and clean up a little hot glue because again, my little dots of hot glue were maybe not so much dots, but I always do that with my heat gun, and my Cricut weeder works really well for that too. Now it just needs a hanger, so I'm just going to take some twine and tie a knot. I have that frame to work with, so I can just staple it from the back, and it's thick enough to accommodate that. Make a knot on the other side, and now we have a new hanger. This was so easy to make, and I think it's so whimsical and cool, cute. It wouldn't take up very much room if you had a small place in your home that needs something. It might just need a little jellyfish. So everything came from the Dollar Tree. I think it's nice and simple. No blue on this one, just different colors of browns and ivories. But I think the tentacles are really fun. What do you guys think about this one?
I have this one hanging in my bathroom, and it looks so cute.
Okay, this DIY is going to be so easy. I love this little relax sign from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. I don't love that it's thin, and I don't really like the boat on there, but we're going to make this sign our own. So I just used my heat gun and a spatula and popped that right off. Unfortunately, they put a picture of a sailboat right underneath of it. I was kind of hoping that it would just be wood boards, but that's okay. We will work around that. I want to replace that. Now, these signs, the color is perfect. I thought, like, I was going to do a starfish at first, but a sand dollar would work. It's going to cover most of it, and we'll make that cover all of it. Now, the only thing I don't love about these signs is they tend to bow, so try to make sure you get a flat one whenever you're buying the long signs. To make it look a little bit more high-end, I'm just going to use a razor and try to cut like directly on the little line between the boards to make an opening there, to kind of make it look like there are 3 little individual boards, just an easy little hack. Now, I also like to distress these normally, but this one I'm actually just going to go in with a sanding block, and you can sand like the seam that you just made where you made the cut, but you can also sand the paper, and it almost gives you exactly the same kind of distress like if you were to paint it. So I didn't even need to distress it after that. The sandpaper did a great job. Now, my sand dollar from the Dollar Tree is not quite large enough, so I thought we would just make it a very simple little burlap background with some of that burlap roll from the Dollar Tree. I just need like a tiny square to go behind it. I don't want to cover up any of the letters of relax. I just want a little background there that's going to look coastal and beachy, but it's going to serve the purpose of covering up that sailboat that they insisted was going to be on the sign, right? So that looks a little big, so I'm just going to trim it down until I'm happy with it. The burlap's really easy to cut straight, because if you just follow like the grain of the burlap, you can get a nice straight line. Then I'm going to attach that with Mod Podge. Burlap doesn't normally like to stick down too much with Mod Podge, but if you go over the top, make sure it's really good and wet, you can get it to stick pretty well. So I'm just going to give that a quick dry, and then we can attach our little sand dollar here right to the front. I'm just going to hot glue anywhere I can, and that glue will seep through the burlap and stick to the little relax sign. I think it's perfect, and how easy was that? That's totally a 5-minute DIY. This is how it turned out.
And they seem to switch these signs up every year. They look a little bit better, I think, every year, but this is a fun way that you can just kind of take whatever decor they have on there and just replace it with a few couple of items and make it look so much better than it did before.
Okay, next DIY, we're going to take a Dollar Tree sign. This is the one I'm using. I just wanted something with a frame that was kind of rectangular in structure. Doesn't really matter what you get because we're going to take it apart. We're going to be painting the frame and stuff. Don't need any of this stuff on there, the little line that goes across. I just need the frame. And what I want to do like a little cutout DIY for this. Wanted to do like another shark. So I wanted to get kind of creative and see what kind of items I can use. This is a Target dollar spot like seagrass purse that I've used for other DIYs. But if you don't have one of those, you could always use one of the little bags from the Dollar Tree like this. And this is me trying to decide which one I'm going to use. I decided to go with this one because I already had it cut and it's definitely going to be big enough. What I want to do is cover the background of our little sign with this, and then using some of the Dollar Tree removable wallpaper, I want to do kind of a cutout that exposes the seagrass behind it. Kind of a technique I'd never really tried before, but I thought maybe we could try pulling this off. I'm going to do a shark shape, but you could do any kind of sea creature. It'd be really cute. So I just cut that down to the size of the back to that picture frame. And I'm just going to hot glue that down to it. Now, I've never tried cutting the removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree with my Cricut machine. I'm trying to remember the setting. I'll have to look it up. I did record the setting that I used to cut it, and I'll put that in the description below because it did take a little trial and error to get it to cut through. Now, I also need a piece of a foam board from the Dollar Tree in the same shape. This one's black. It's all I had. So I'm just going to cut that foam board down to shape because the thickness of that wallpaper is not going to be thick enough, I think, to do what I want to do. And so I need something to attach that to. So just cutting the foam board down into a rectangle the same size of our picture that we're doing to give me, you know, like a thicker surface to cut through to do the cutout. So just making sure that's going to fit in the frame, just kind of trimming it up a little bit. It can be a little challenging to cut the foam board. And I go ahead and remove the hanger too because it was kind of getting in the way. Now, I don't really like the dark wood finish, so I'm going to give it a driftwood vibe on here by mixing some antique wax by Waverly together with some ivory acrylic and distressing all over with chunky brush to make this a lighter, airier looking coastal sign frame. And it's okay if the wood grain shines through. It's going to kind of make it look distressed, but definitely trying to brighten it up from how it looked before. And this is that removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree where I cut out like the shark shape in here. And this is definitely my favorite pattern. I think it's so tropical. So I thought this would make a really cool art piece. So what I'm going to do is weed the little shark out that we cut out in it. And again, I definitely had to play around with the settings to get a good cut on this because it wasn't obvious like which setting to use. And we're going to peel off the back of the wallpaper. Now we're just going to stick that directly onto the foam board that we cut out. And we're going to use that as a template to do a cutout through the foam board as well. Because again, remember I want the seagrass to kind of be behind it, but I didn't want to just lay that wallpaper directly on top of the seagrass. I wanted it to have a little bit of depth, which is why we're doing the foam board. So once I have it on there, I just use a razor blade from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to go around the shape of the shark silhouette. I kind of do the body first and worry about the fins later because it's a little tricky to cut this out. I go to the back to make sure it cut all the way through and just pop out the pieces. Then I can go back and do all of the little fins as well. And that's why it didn't really matter that my foam board was black because you really can't see it because it's white inside still, just like the other white foam board would have been. And I'm just trying to clean it up the best I can with like a little Cricut weeder to get out any little pieces. And there is our little shark cutout that we can put over the top of our seagrass background. Now I noticed you could see some of the like black paper torn here and there from the cutout. So I do go over the insides of it with just a little ivory just to brighten that up and cover up any tiny pieces of black that you might still be able to see. I don't really care if I get too much on there because I am going to go back and distress this because hello, I distress everything. I'm just using a brush kind of all over, distressing in one direction with that same ivory and wiping off the excess with a baby wipe just to give a little bit more character to that wallpaper, make it look a little bit less glossy and a little bit more artsy, if you will. Now we can lay it on top of the seagrass. I think it's starting to look pretty good. It's definitely a unique piece that I just kind of had in my mind. And there is our frame that we painted to kind of look more like driftwood. Now it's just time to put it back together. So just putting our wallpaper covered foam board inside first. Making sure everything is good, and then we can put this seagrass on the back. Now this did have like the existing staples on there. I wasn't sure how good it was going to hold though because it's kind of thick. So I do go back in there with some hot glue to secure that in place all around the edges. I want quite a bit because I also want to be able to glue on the back of the seagrass too. And just glue that all into place. And there it is. It looks pretty cool. I want to hang mine, so I'm just going to attach a little sawtooth hanger here about halfway in the middle. And this is so lightweight that I'm just going to use hot glue to glue it on. I'm not messing with any of those little tiny screws. And it was pretty easy to make, I think. Now, I got to this point and I liked it, but I thought maybe we could add a little bit more texture to it, right? So I'm going to add just some twine. This is that thicker twine that I get at Walmart. It's a little thicker than the one from Dollar Tree, but you could probably get the same effect from that. And I thought we could do like just a little fun, like ocean wave out of twine across the bottom of this DIY, just to add a little bit more character to the piece. So I'm just gluing a very basic wave shape, and we're going to do that all the way across. Now, I think I still have the cutout file for the Cricut for the shark. I will try to remember to share that in the link below as well. I have lots of files I need to include on this video for you guys to replicate some of these DIYs, but there's our little shark cutout against the seagrass. I love the different textures of the seagrass. We have the wallpaper, we have like the driftwood frame, and then we also have the jute twine forming some waves along the bottom, just for fun, and because I thought maybe it might be a little bit off center.
I'm not sure if I still have that shark cutout file, but if I do, I will link it in the description below. But I really hope you enjoyed these 20 coastal Dollar Tree DIYs today. I hope it gave you lots of fun beach crafting inspiration for summer. Definitely my favorite theme. Let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. And don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, for individual DIYs on your phone. Enjoy the final reveal.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got, and when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
Thank you so much for joining me today on this coastal crafting marathon. I also want to give a huge thank you to all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. And I want to give a huge thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marin Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Lori Hollingsworth, Mindy Hop, and Jenny. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. And we would also love to see your DIYs. Make sure to share your DIYs with us in the private Facebook group, always linked in the description of my videos. And I always try to include chapters for everything as well. Now, would you like more coastal crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!